Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here. That's my Triumph Bonneville T100. It's a 2012. I bought that July 19th of 2022 this year. Put about 1,100 miles on it in 5 days, and on the 5th day, July 24th, I wrecked it. If you look at it, it's barely, the damage is minimal, but it's there. But so this is the story about how Fuzzy Biker wrecked his bike. That bike, anyway. I've had 500,000 miles in my life, over 500,000 miles easy, and I've had one serious motorcycle accident. I've had 3 motorcycle accidents. First 2, the bikes got trashed. I was okay. This time the bike did pretty well. I, however, did not. I ended up, I got a helicopter ride, ended up in a trauma ward for 10 days. It was a good time, I tell you, and I'll go into more of that later. But so let's start with the motorcycle. Well, let's start with how I wrecked the bike. Been 200 mile day ride, just all, Sunday, beautiful day. Heading home, it was what we call Deer 30 around here. It was dusk. The road was, very rural. It was a little curve right there, and area known for having a lot of deer. So I slowed down quite a bit. And came around the corner, and I remember thinking, if a deer jumps out now, I'm screwed. Well, deer did jump out, and I was screwed. I didn't actually hit the deer. That's kind of a crazy thing about the whole deal. I'm one of the few people in Iowa, one of the few Iowans, that has not hit a deer. It's crazy, because they're so thick around here. Our state has about 500,000 deer, by the way. So we've got 3 million people and 500,000 deer. What a deal. But anyway, so that's how the accident happened. And I saw the deer, I hit the brakes real hard, big 30 foot, 50 foot, whatever, long skid, 100 foot skid mark, whatever. I'll put a picture of it here somewhere. And there's a pothole at the end of that skid mark, and that's where the bike went down. So I remember coming around the curve, slowing down. I remember seeing the deer, hitting the brakes real hard, and the next thing I knew, the chief of the fire department, Tyler Tiggeson, was waking me up on the side of the road, and I woke up, I could see my bike laying there. He said, "Hey, it's Tyler. You're crashed your motorcycle." And I thought, well, you know what I thought. Anyway, so let's talk about the bike. What happened to the bike? Well, the bike fell on this side. So this bike, this is the worst of it, okay? And I'm going to start at the front. I got a little bit of road rash there. The bike was held up by this area, by that foot peg, and by this bag, and a little bit of the pipe. So this just got trashed. This whole windshield bonkered. We can't seem to find one. You can't buy them new anymore, so I'm going to find one off eBay or get one used somewhere. But all the metal brackets, that's all just trash. The fairing crushed this housing. I unbolted it. I've got a new one. And the tachometer got popped like a pimple. So I've got a new tack over there somewhere. And it says $5 grand, but I'm sure it wasn't going that fast. But anyway, so I got all that to replace. I got all that. I got the parts over the yonder. Oh, and there's a little spot on the tank. I got that too. But so that got trashed. That got trashed. This area here got trashed. If you look at the mirror, it's got just beautiful, abrasion damage. Better that than me. My throttle cables are shot. I got new ones of those. I'm gonna get grips like Jeff McCormick, my friend, has on his Triumph, or had on one of his Triumphs. I can't remember. But I got to find out what he had and get those on there. I put this new brake lever on. Here's the old one. This is what was left. It goes like that, I believe. So got a new one on there. So this, a little bit of damage in my blinker here. So I'm gonna get, anyway, moving backwards. The next thing that got it bad was this. And I think I may have to just get a new one. Initially I thought I could straighten it out and get it back on, but I was looking at it the other day, and there's actually quite a bit of damage there. And the next thing that got it was this bag. This bag's toast, and that bracket got bent. And just a little spot on my exhaust pipe. I don't know if y'all can see that right there. So we'll do something. So my goal is to get the bike back together, and I've got all the parts to get it to where I can ride it, except for the foot peg. And I think I can get one of those pretty easy. But I've got the tack, the new housing. I've got all this stuff here except for the hand grip. And once I get it running, I'm going to drive it for a little bit, and then I'll finish off the rest of the cosmetic damage. My fear was I crashed the bike and it laid there and ran, laid it on its side and ran. But I'm told that these bikes have tip over sensors that shut off the fuel, because if you're in an accident, they don't want the bike laying there pumping gas out and catching things on fire. So I'm hoping that's the case, but I'll get it together, get it going, and make a determination on what to do next after that. You know, it's got brand new tires. You can still see the hair on the edges. You know, front and back. They put new Messlers on it when they gave it to me. They put new chains, sprockets, all that stuff. So it's in really good shape. I just love the bike. I've ridden, you know, when I wanted one of these. This has got the 865 oil-cooled twin-cylinder engine, 67 horsepower. I've wanted one of these for quite a while. First Triumph I drove was a Triumph American, had the same motor, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the way it handled. I fell in love with the engine. I fell in love with the braking. Brakes were excellent on that. I think I got a video back there somewhere. And then I drove another friend's. He had it was this bike, except it was a 2005. This is a 2012, I think. And I just fell in love with that. So I ended up, you know, told Baxter's what I wanted. They found it and they got it. So there it is. But this is going to be the more boring part of the video, I guess. Tell you about my experience. So they found me on the side of the road. They shoved a needle in my side to get me going. They cut I had these extra thick blue jeans on that I bought just for motorcycle riding. You know, those are all gone. I had a jacket on, a helmet on. The helmet I had on was this hot rod right here, little tiny cheap helmet. All that damage would have been the side of my head, I suppose. But just look at that. Just, you know, a little bit on this side too. So I'm really happy I had that helmet on, and you know, I'm just going to throw this in real quick. Baxter Cycles helped me with the parts, and they've helped me with a new helmet, and I really appreciate that. Discounts on everything, so I appreciate that. But anyway, so they stuffed me into a helicopter. Helicopter flew me to Omaha. I'm in Iowa. Nebraska Medical, I think the place was called. The 10th floor, I think it was the 10th floor. And that's the trauma floor, 10th or 8th or 10th, kind of foggy. I was there for 10 days. Maybe it was the 8th floor. Got there, helicopter landed. They opened the back doors. This lady came out and she says, "I'm going to hurt you." And she did. She shoved a chest tube in me. And I don't know how they do that, but it felt like a piece of copper pipe, you know, half-inch copper pipe being shoved in my side. And it made an impression on me. She came in my room a few days later. I didn't recognize her. I was highly sedated, or, you know, a lot of drugs. And, but I got a sense of fear, you know, I don't fear much. And so I was trying to figure that one out, and looking at her and talking to her, and it dawned on me who she was. And I said, "You're the lady that put the chest tube in me." Yes, she was. And by God, that made an impression. Other highlights would be they put me, you know, one of those MRI tubes, and I was in so much pain. I was in there for 20 some minutes, they said. I was in so much pain, it didn't matter. But you know, that's no fun to be in those. I don't know how people do that when they're normal, you know, let alone. Anyway, the other one was a day or so later. They came in and they said, "You have to walk," you know, and I think it was the very next day. And these two burly nurses, I don't know if they were burly or not, but they made me get out of bed, and they said it's going to hurt, and it did hurt. And I had to get up, stand up, take a step left, step right, and then they threw me back in bed, and everything like that was painful. But, you know, the nurses there, all the nurses are young in a trauma floor, at least in the trauma floor I was on. And that's a really high stress area, and it's a place you just never want to be. But all those nurses took really good care of me. They, you know, when I first got there, if I even looked at the call button, or if I even made an odd noise, they were in that room just like that. And they took good care of me. Now, day 9 and 10, it was a little less, they knew I was okay. You know, they didn't have to jump in on me. But I'm going to throw this in real quick. I like my door left open wherever I'm at, except for the bathroom. And so that room, I had the door open all the time. And the room across the hall, I could see into that room. And in the 10 days I was there were at least 2 people that were in that room that did not make it. So I feel very fortunate to have made it. And that's all because of everything from the fire department, the helicopter people, the nurses, the doctors, everything. But so they took me. Some of the things they did to me. I broke 8 bones in 12 places. So I had 12 actual breaks. 6 of my ribs were busted up. I broke my clavicle in 2 spots, and I broke my elbow, a big chunk out of my elbow. And they put all that back together. And the ribs, they did something called plating. And if they ever ask you, if you're ever in my situation, which I hope you never are, and they ever ask you if you can plate your ribs, just say yes. It was one of those Before that, every breath just reeked with pain. I could barely breathe. I couldn't cough. After that, I still had pain, and it was still hard, but it was a lot better. So remember that. Well, hopefully you never have to. But anyway, I'm here because of a lot of good people. You know, from the fire department here in my little hometown to you know, to the people on that trauma floor, to the friends that visit me. If you ever have friends in a hospital, go visit them. We need that. And COVID made it hard, but and distance, because I was, you know, quite a ways away from my family. But people did come and visit me, and I really appreciate every one of you. The other thing I would have to throw in here real quick is my son. I remember laying and telling the fire department, call my son. I'm retired. I take care of my 93-year-old father, and he needs, you know, care every day. He can't take care of himself. And they called my son. They said he was at the house within 2 hours. So within 2 hours of calling him, he was here. He lives 90 miles away. And he stayed here for 11 days. He took time off work, 11 days, took care of Dad, picked me up at the hospital. We went out to the crash site the day he picked me up from the hospital. And I'm serious as a heart attack. A deer jumped out in front of his car. Probably the same doggone deer. That sucker's trying to get me. My brother had vacation. He took 4 days after after I got home. My brother came here for 4 days, and he and his wife helped take care of me. And then my son came back for another week. He took another week's vacation. And without that, I just don't know what we would have done. That gave me time to heal up enough that I could do what I needed to do. And I really appreciate that. So, conclusion. One is, if there's a lot of deer out, drive slow. Speed. I think if I'd have been going much faster, it could have been a lot worse, you know, turnout. Make sure your brakes work. You know, have good friends, and just pray that something like this never happens. But the bike itself, I think I'll have that running, you know, a couple days. I've got the parts here, most of the parts that I need. I have enough parts to get it running. And today, though, I think I'm going to try to get that bike out and run with that. That's my old Harley, and I haven't had it running in a couple months, so there isn't much to getting it going. It usually starts right up, so I'll get that thing going. And then this bike, since the accident, I put about 3,000 miles on this bike. And then, of course, I've driven a bunch of other motorcycles in between, and you guys have probably seen the videos, and life has been good. Life is good. Hey, I'm Fuzzy Biker, and I'm here to tell you, life is good. Get out there and ride. Wahoo!